Q8031. If a certificate holder deviates from the provisions of regulations which pertain to medical use of oxygen by passengers, a complete report of the incident shall be sent to the FAA within A. 7 working days. B. 10 working days. C. 10 days of the deviation. The correct answer is B. A report of any deviation from the rules governing the use of medical oxygen by passengers must be sent by each certificate holder to the FAA Flight Standards District Office within 10 days, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and federal holidays. Q8081. An unpressurized aircraft with 20 occupants other than the pilots will be cruising at 14,000 feet MSL for 25 minutes. For how many, if any, of these occupants must there be an oxygen supply? A. 5. B. 2. C. None. The correct answer is C. According to the Federal Aviation Regulations, FARs, when operating an unpressurized aircraft at altitudes above 12,500 feet MSL, mean sea level, the pilots must use supplemental oxygen continuously, but there is no requirement for passengers to use supplemental oxygen at that altitude or for that duration of time. Therefore, none of the 20 occupants, other than the pilots, would require an oxygen supply in this scenario. 9819. What are the oxygen requirements for passengers if operating at 14,000 feet? A. 30 minutes for each passenger. B. Available for 10% of the occupants. C. Available for 10% of the occupants other than the pilots. The correct answer is C. According to the Federal Aviation Regulations, FARs, when operating at altitudes above 12,500 feet MSL, mean sea level, supplemental oxygen must be made available for 10% of the occupants on board, other than the pilots. This means that in this case, if there are 20 occupants other than the pilots, oxygen must be available for 10% of those occupants, which would be 2 individuals. Q8317. What period of time must a person be hospitalized before an injury may be defined by the NTSB as a serious injury? A. 72 hours, commencing within of injury. B. 48 hours, commencing within the injury. 10 days after date, 7 days after date of. C. 10 days, with no other extenuating circumstances. The correct answer is B. Serious injury is defined as any injury that necessitates hospitalization for more than 48 hours, starting no later than 7 days after the injury occurred. Q8319. Which of the following constitutes substantial damage, according to NTSB Part 830? A. Ground damage to landing gear, wheels, or tires. B. Damage to wingtips or rotor blades, in the case of a helicopter zero. C. Failure of a component which would adversely affect the performance and which would require replacement. The correct answer is C. According to NTSB Part 830, substantial damage is defined as damage or failure of a component that adversely affects the performance of the aircraft and requires its replacement. It refers to significant damage that affects the structural integrity, flight characteristics, or normal operation of the aircraft. Ground damage to landing gear, wheels, or tires, option A, and damage to wingtips or rotor blades, option B, may or may not constitute substantial damage depending on the extent and impact on the aircraft's performance. However, option C encompasses a broader range of damage scenarios that could be considered substantial.